Krown Produce secures produce locally and from around the world for Canadian retailers. Krown Produce is also proud to secure sponsorship of university football on Shaw. Krown Produce, supporting Canadian retailers and Canadian amateur football. Whether it's your first home, a refinance, or an investment property, Kia Grant & Associates can find a mortgage solution for you. In association with Barico Paragon, the work she does for you is free. Find her on Facebook at Kia Grant Mortgages.
Legendary punk band DOA have a brand new studio album out now. We Come in Peace. There's also a brand new live album by DOA. Welcome to Chinatown, DOA Live. Get them at suddendeath.com.
Part of the sound of Krown Countdown U is provided by The Real Mackenzies. The new album, West Winds, featuring My Luck Is So Bad, is available on iTunes. Coming up on Krown Countdown U, were the Bison's Buffalo. Home Streak stampeded at Mac. And Atlantic Canada is underway. Krown Countdown U counts down now.
Hey, welcome to Krown Countdown U. I'm Ryan Sullivan. This is Andrew Wadden. The AUS got going this week, so the CIS is in full swing.
Kind of like Ryan on a Friday night at the Roxy, you know, swinging it.
Oh, I swing, baby. But swinging it's not doing it justice.
No, and justice was not served in Manitoba, where Brian Dobie and company were robbed of a victory.
Could this be a preview of the Hardy? Well, this guy certainly hopes so. Anthony Coombs set to face the Huskies. Early in the first cue, Coombs gets the herd going as he hauls in this pass from Jordan Yance for a 22-yard pickup. Saski gets called for a face mask on the play, which puts Manitoba on the Huskies 1. The Saski D would hold the goal line twice, but on 3rd and 1, Yance finds O-lineman Matt Hollick for the major. The Bison score first and lead 7-0. Second cue now, and the Huskies get on the board as the O-line gives Shane Buchanan a hole he could drive a pickup truck through. SB goes 46 yards to the house, and we're all squared at 7th. Later in the cue, Huskies pivot Drew Burko connects with Garrett Burgess for this 23-yard major. Saski up a 10 spot, but that lead would be cut down quickly as Coombs busts through the Huskies line, and he's off. That's a 54-yard score for the Heck Crichton hopeful. Coombs gives the Saski defender the Dikembe Mutombo finger wag, not in my house. Saski would add a field goal to extend its lead to 5, and then Mr. Vidal Sassoon got into the game. Burko finds Mitch Stevens, who goes 68 yards to pay dirt. The Huskies' lead grows to 12, but that lead would get slashed once again as Coombs goes across the line and then busts up the gut for a 16-yard major. Bison's refusing to quit, down just 3. Late in the fourth cue, Huskies up by 6. Yance from his own 35-yard line goes deep for Coombs, who looks like a modern-day Jerry Rice. Check out the toss and grab from Yance and Coombs. A perfectly placed ball from the former VI Raider. Then on 3rd and goal, Yance hits Nick Dembski for the major. The Bisons take their first lead since the first cue, up 34-33 with just 5 minutes to go. A couple of minutes left on the board, and on 2nd and 20, Burko gets flushed out of the pocket, tosses one up where Kit Hillis comes down with it. Huskies knocking on the herd's door. Manitoba would hold the line once, and on 3rd and goal, Burko tries to ram it in, but his knee clearly touches the ground before he crosses the line. The Bisons with a massive stop, but are left with the ball on their own 1. So with 29 seconds to go, the cheerleading squad tries to get the Bison's faithful going. You know, I think the girls in Manitoba are looking a little worse for wear. The herd would go 2 and out, and a weak punt put Saski within field goal distance, where Denton Kolodinsky steps up and nails this 40-yard boot. Huskies up 2 with just 18 seconds remaining. Yance, starting on his own 35 with no timeouts left, scrambles out of the pocket where he hits Coombs for 18 yards. A Bison's offside would cost them 3 seconds. So with just 8 ticks remaining, Yance goes over the middle for Andrew Smith, who looks to be down with 1 second remaining, but the Zebras are having none of it. They get the heck out of Dodge. Brian Dobie can't believe it. The Herd gets robbed at home, dropping a nail-biter to the Huskies. You can bet this one will get debated on the message boards throughout the week. Both QBs were stellar in this one, tossing 2 touchdowns apiece, while Yance gets the slight edge in yards. Anthony Coombs gets another 200-plus all-purpose yards day while scoring 2 majors. The man with the Fabio-esque hair, Mitch Stevens, leads all receivers with 152 yards on 5 receptions and the 1 tally. Be sure to circle Friday, October 18th on your calendar, as the Bisons will travel to Saskatchewan for what should be one hell of a rematch.
Well, we had a good one in Regina. Dinos visiting the Rams. Start things out a few minutes in, and it's Tevon Campbell on the kick return. He gives his coach a heart attack going backwards towards his own end zone. However, he does turn something out of nothing. He goes 75 yards with it. They could not capitalize any further, though. His efforts turn into a U of R field goal. That knots it at 6 apiece. Back the other way, Regina trying to pound it in, but ball pops loose. He's a bad man. Colton Sullivan, he's also a garbage man, scoops it up. It's 13-6 Regina. Dinos down, but not out by a long shot. Andrew Buckley filling in for the one-footed drill. Eric Zaleski, he hits Eli Buka, and he is gonzo. 89 yards later, Calgary takes the halftime lead, 20-13. Play resumes, and Mercer Timmis decides to be the next Jarius Jackson. Dr. Goal line, he takes it in from 2. Rams fire right back. It's Cayman Shutter rolling right, hitting the baddest cat in all of Sasktown, Colton Solomon, with a nice diving grab. That would trim the CG wide lead to 7, but Dr. Goal line strikes again, this time from 3 yards out. Calgary opens the season 2-0 with a 34-27 win. Story for the Dinos, Dr. Goal line. Well, he's kind of Dr. Everything, actually. Mercer Timmis running the ball 25 times for 139 yards and 2 majors. For Regina, Cayman Shutter connected on 27 of 58. Nothing too staggering there. Starting to come into his own, though. He broke the 400 mark with 2 TDs and 0 picks.
T-Birds and G-Bears in what may have been the best game of the year. Pick this one up late in the second Q. British Columbians down by 27 when Brandon Deschamps goes for a run in the park. That's a 38-yard major. T-Birds down 20 at the beer break. Fast forward to the fourth. G-Bears lead down to 5. Ryan Schwartz with this hitch pass to Taylor Henry. And an old-fashioned block party breaks out on the sideline. That's a 62-yarder. Alberta back up by 12. 2 minutes to go. UBC pivot Carson Williams dives in for 7. Deficit now down to 5. A safety would slash that lead to 3, and then with just seconds remaining, Quinn Van Gilswick with the boot. It's good. This puppy's all tied up at 36, and we're off to the OT zone. QVG now with the game on his foot, and it's good. T-Birds claw their way back from down 27 to steal the honey from the G-Bears. Deschamps proving he needs to be in the conversation for the heck. Yet another gigantic performance, rushing for over 200 yards and the 2 majors. G-Bears pivot Ryan Schwartz keeps putting up significant numbers each week, despite not earning a win yet this year. So we're through 2 weeks in the C-Dub, and the Big Dogs are still unbeaten. The T-Birds have a 1 now in the win column, while Alberta and Regina are still in search of their first W. In other Canada West news, Saskatchewan offensive guard Lane Briscoe will miss the Huskies' upcoming game versus Calgary due to suspension after hitting Regina defensive tackle Calvin Smith with an illegal hit in the Huskies' win over the Rams on September 30th. Smith left that game with his foot in an air cast.
Well, I had a long chat with our RSEQ insider, JP Soiree, in the offseason. He said if Jeremy Doyon-Rock is at his best, there's no stopping what this team could do. Well, that was put to the test against one of the best in the CIS. The ever-heralded Aor Bowl from Sherbrooke, Quebec. Tristan Grenon hoping to keep his troops undefeated against the Ver Aor. Early on, Jeremy Doyon-Rock hits Gabriel Goulet, who tries to leap a tackle but head plants hard. I don't care if he is Mr. Notorious Big. Can he croon? This guy can. Pascal Lachard with a nice scamper. He'd finish the day with 51 on the ground. Maxime Boutin then with a beauty cut and run. Laval looking deadly on the ground, and it's all capped off with this nice little trot from TG5. It ate Bagel Laval. Right back the other way, JDR hits Brazon Latil for a few. He then hits another man to the outside for a couple, and it's decision time. Let's see, you're down by 8. It's 3rd and 7. It's the second quarter. They decide to go for it. And no. 8-0 at the beer break. What? Let me get this straight. You go to the costume shop, you see Batman, you see Robin. All right. To the second half, Laval not messing around. Guillaume Bourassa takes it in with ease. They'd add a safety and a Boris Bidet Rouge. 20-0 your final for the Rouge et Or. Dave Boucher had 9 tackles for Sherbrooke, while Tristan Grenon threw for 167 yards. Wait a second. You want a good stat? You know what? It's a barn burner when two teams combined for over 1,000 punting yards. Boris Bidet, 13 punts for 561 yards. Sherbrooke's Matthew Hebert, 10 punts for 475 yards. You're watching Krown Countdown U. Every team, every angle, every punt.
It was a clash between two top 10 teams in Montreal. Early in the first Q, Rotran the man Sene gets the Carabin on the board with this 4-yard dash and score. Montreal up 7. Move to the second, Sene does his best Barry Sanders impression, dekes his way out of a couple tackles where he eventually gets knocked out on the sidelines. He appears to hurt his knee on the play. His day would be done, as it would be for the Gators. Sene rushes for over 100 yards in just one half of play. It's not clear just yet what the extent of that injured knee is. Sene's backup Nicholas Debo picked up where he left off, rushing for 145 yards on 20 carries. Bishop's QB Jordan Heather put in a decent game, tossing for just under 300 yards and 1 touchdown.
Take a look at Concordia and McGill. The Stingers took one on the chin from the Red Men. They lose 32-19. Reed Quest with a decent day at the office for Concordia, 27 of 39, 312 yards in the air, a pick, but a touchdown as well. Louis Guimont-Mouton is the headliner for McGill, 18 rushes, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the winning effort. All right, let's take a look at the RSEQ standing board. Laval, Montreal, undefeated. They're sitting atop the mountain, 2-0. Bishops and McGill sitting in the middle, 1-1. Concordia and surprisingly Sherbrooke, 0-2. Sherbrooke, the Ver Or, looking very mediocre to start the season.
All right, it took 15 years, but finally football is back at Carlton. However, we're not going to start there. Let's start on the campus of McMaster, where a 12-game winning streak was put to the test.
McMaster hasn't lost back-to-back games in 3 years. Can they get themselves back into the win column? It was a wet one at Ron Joyce with a crowd of just over 5,000 in attendance. Greg Marshall facing off against his former team, which is led by the always intense Steph Potasic, who seems to always be looking like he's going to murder someone. Last year's CIS rushing leader Garrett Sanvito looking to have a big day for Western. However, it was the Stangs' new star that got them going. George Johnson showing off his incredible athletic ability, hauling in this shoestring grab, which puts Western into the MAC red zone. A couple plays later, Tommy Marshall caps off the drive with this 10-yard score from Will Finch. Western takes its first lead. MAC would add 3 to its total to cut the deficit to 4, but early in the second Q, Finch finds who else? Johnson once again, this time for a 42-yard strike. MAC's secondary really feeling the loss of injured all-star D-backs Joey Capito and Mike Daly. Purple Ponies take an 11-point lead. That lead would grow as Sanvito goes for a big dash, rumbling his way for 57 yards, finally getting taken down at the 2, which Andrew Sinclair would later cap off the drive. Western is rolling. Nothing seeming to go right for the MAC on this day as they attempt the fake punt, but Scott Martin with the slippery digits. That leads to a MAC turnover on downs. That miscue would bite back as on the next series for the Stangs, Finch connects with the other Marshall. This time it's Brian. Daddy's loving it, while Potasic, however, is looking like he's searching for a victim. More bad news for the Marauders as top receiver Mike DeCroce comes out in the second half with no shoulder pads on. His day would be over with an injury. MAC QB Marshall Ferguson's nemesis on the day gets him for a second time. Pavel Kruba with his second pick of the day, which leads to a Western field goal, and the route is on. Mac would catch a slight break, however, Kruba lays a massive hit on first-year receiver Danny Vandervoort, who looks like it's a fumble, but the Zebras rule it incomplete. Mac getting away with one there, as it's clear that Vandervoort made the catch, and then he got absolutely destroyed by Kruba. The Marauders would end up scoring on the play, cutting the Western lead to 25. But if the game wasn't already over, now it officially is. Finch goes deep for who else but George Johnson, this time for 79 yards. Finch waves bye-bye to the Mac faithful as Western goes into Ron Joyce and lays a smackdown on the reigning OUA champs. Forget about Abercrombie and Finch, it's all about Johnson and Finch for the Purple Ponies. Finch with back-to-back 400-yard games, tossing 5 majors, which now has him up to 10 already this season. Johnson gathers himself 224 yards on the day, and of course the 2 majors. Kruba leading the attack for Western on D with those 2 INTs and a game-high 9 tackles.
Laurier, York, Toronto looking like Vancouver 10 months of the year. The rain falling hard on Julian John. He would use it to his advantage early on though. He hits Greg Nyhoff from 35 yards. Nyhoff does the rest. That's a quick 8-0 White. Dylan Campbell then decides it's cardio day. He takes the handoff from John, goes 69 yards to the painted red fake grass. Laurier goes up 15 bagel. They'd go into the room up 15-5 at the break. York would respond quickly though, just a few minutes into the third Q. It's Ryan Dunaway pulling down the wobbler. Now break out that awesome dance. Well, that's something. It's 15-12 Jayhawks. Not even 2 minutes later, the red and white in striking distance, Miles Gibbon decides it's go time, tucks the pigskin and goes for a jaunt. He drives it in style. 19-15 for YU. 5 minutes later, Gibbon hooks up with Errol Brooks on the screen. He dives it in with a copious amount of ease. York with the comeback win, 33-20. The story for the Jayhawks was Dylan Campbell. He ran the ball 16 times for 146 yards and a touchdown. For York, Miles Gibbon goes 50%, 14 of 28. Not unreal numbers, but he threw 211 yards, 2 TDs, while also running 155 yards and another major.
Number 2 team in the nation looking to keep its perfect record intact. And they get going early, just a couple of minutes into the game. Pivot Billy McPhee tosses this long ball to Justin Shep the lane. That's a 40-yard strike. Gales get on the board. However, the Lancers would respond quickly as QB Austin Kennedy calls his own number and torpedoes his way into the end zone. Game locked at 7. A Kennedy interception would eventually lead to this 1-yard major from Ryan Gramberg. Queens retakes the lead, and they don't look back. Up by 4 in the second Q, McPhee on play action looks to the end zone where he finds Scott McDonald for another 7. On the ensuing kickoff, Nigel Applewhite takes a lick. The pigskin pops loose. Jonah Pataki pounces on it in the Windsor end zone for the major. Queens extends its lead to 18. Flash to the 4th Q, McPhee hits Doug Corby. DC rumbles his way to the house for a 52-yard major. Queens in the driver's seat up by 23. But that's not going to stop Kennedy from playing, as here he calls his own number once again, and he hits the ground a-running. That's a 60-yard tally, putting the Lancers down by just 16. But it wouldn't be enough as Queens wins its 3rd straight, knocking off the Lancers by 15. McPhee tosses for close to 300 yards on the day with the 3 touchdowns. Kennedy had a game-high 122 yards on the ground, but those 2 interceptions proved costly. The Gales defense stepped up big time on the day, sacking Kennedy 7 times in the victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ottawa is 2-1 this season. They beat U of T 34-10. Aaron Colbon, are you kidding me? 32 of 44, 523 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. He also had a rushing TD as well, by the way. For Toronto, Paul to pass, 7 catches, 135 yards. That's it. Both teams combined for over 1,000 yards of offense.
For the first time in 15 years, there's football being played on the campus at Carlton. And this guy's so jacked, he's giving you the shirt off his back, rather the shirts. You get my drift. First Q, Warriors up 4. Jamie Cook finds Nick Anapolsky. That's 7 more for the visitors. Anapolsky giving his D-Generation X. Is that Triple H? Third down, Warriors running back Nick Silvestri bulls his way to the house. That is a 33-yarder. The Warriors came out to play, smacking the Ravens by 41. Silvestri with a big day, rushing for 120 yards on 12 carries and the 2 majors. Anapolsky hauled in 12 passes for 110 yards and the 1 tally. Kyle Van Winsberg, or KVW as he's going to be known from here on out, caught 6 passes for 87 yards and 1 touchdown in the losing effort. Take a peek at the big board now in the OUA. Queens and Western sitting at a perfect 3-0, while Guelph, coming off that bye, are at 2-0. However, the big story has to be the McMaster Marauders and those 2 blemishes they already have this year.
If you watch the Krown Countdown U box sets of Season 1 and 2, they're available now at Blockbuster and Dial a Movie, you would see that we always rank Acadia at the top in the AUS. Well, that's not so much the case anymore. They were put to the test this week. We start things out in the second Q. Ben Rassong sings one out to the back of the end zone. Melvin Abankwa with a massive 3-yard pull down. 9-7 St. Mary's. Acadia with one last chance. No dice. A nice win, a slight upset even. 14-11 Huskies is your final. Ben Rassong getting in on the rushing and the passing. 56 yards in the air, 36 on the ground. Not a bad day. The big man on campus for Acadia, Jesse St. James. Learn that name. JSJ, 9 tackles, 1 sack.
X in Mount A locked horns in Antigonish. And this one was all X-Men, as here you see Clay Maskowicz hooking up with Devin Bailey. That's a 26-yard major. St. FX kicks off its 2013 season in style with a convincing win over those new-look Mounties. Maskowicz tosses for over 300 yards and the 1 major. Bailey, who's ranked amongst the top receivers in the entire CIS, with a big game, hauling in 8 passes for 123 yards and the 1 touchdown. Quick glance at the standings board, and after week 1, the reigning conference champs in Acadia find themselves, surprisingly, sitting at the bottom.
All right, there you go. You're up to date. Some fantastic games, especially coming out of the AUS there.
Never mind that. What's going on with this box set thing that you're talking about? Where are the royalties to this going? How come I've not been informed about this?
Well, first off, I called it Dial a Movie. It's Dial a Video, if you remember those stores. There's money to be made there. We're on the back wall right next to Ernest Goes to Shreveport.
What is this Blockbuster you speak of?
Well, it's coming up next on the round table.
Coming up next, what he said.
Legendary punk band DOA have a brand new studio album out now. We Come in Peace. There's also a brand new live album by DOA. Welcome to Chinatown, DOA Live. Get them at suddendeath.com.
Part of the sound of Crown Countdown U is provided by The Real Mackenzies. The new album, West Winds, featuring My Luck Is So Bad, is available on iTunes.
Hey, welcome back to Crown Countdown U. It's time again for the roundtable portion. We have Jim Mullen in studio. Of course, we have former UBC quarterback Billy Green, and live via Skype feed, the man behind CanadaFootballChat.com, Lee Barrett. There are a lot of teams basing their success, it seems, on private funding. A lot of teams getting built up this season thanks to people coming in, in the shadows and whatnot. Let's start things over here with Jim Mullen. What are your thoughts on teams getting this private funding? Is that the road to success?
Well, first of all, take a look at this. This is on Banjo Bowl weekend, and what is on the front of the Winnipeg Free Press but a complete picture, head to toe, of the Manitoba Bisons and the Saskatchewan Huskies. And one of the reasons for that is private funding. Now, Manitoba is a publicly funded university, but it's the private funding that went into the new stadium in Winnipeg that has really pumped the Manitoba Bisons up to the top of the charts. They drew 10,199 for their first game, just under 5,000 for their next game. People are starting to pay attention now, and I think recruits will start to pay attention because I had the opportunity to tour through the Manitoba Bisons facilities. You know, I've been on the road. I've covered NHL. I've covered CFL. There are no better facilities for a team. I'm going to repeat this to you now. There are no better facilities for a team in Canada than what the Manitoba Bisons have today. That includes the NHL, that includes the CFL, it even includes the Toronto Blue Jays. Nothing does better than this. And if you were a recruit right now, and if Brian Dobie took you out there, Bill, I think you might have to think twice.
Definitely. Anytime you're a recruit coming out of high school, you want nice facilities. You can go to University of Saskatchewan. They have top-notch. From what I've heard in Manitoba, coming from you, their facilities are top-notch. They're going to be the best out there in Canada. If you're going to a place, especially Winnipeg's not the most appealing place for a high school kid to go spend 5 years to. So you want things outside of the city, maybe team. They're going to be a good team going forward. Their facilities are awesome, so that's going to do nothing but bring recruits there.
Now, Lee, let's get you down on this a little bit. From your side of the country, your view back east, do you notice that it's kind of a different atmosphere back there? I mean, you come out west, and I used to do play-by-play for UBC for a number of years, and I remember Billy would be holding bake sales every single game trying to raise some money. Billy's bob cake, bunt cake, was it? Sorry about that. Billy's brownies, delicious treats. But Lee, back east, do you notice that the funding is there?
Well, absolutely. I had the opportunity to attend the first Carlton home game in 15 years, and top-notch event hosted. I mean, they're not competitive yet on the field, but that will come. But as far as the event, it was sold out. They had everything that you would expect and want at a football game, and it was just a really fun event.
Let's jump on what you see so far. Who is the strongest conference, and what are the teams that stand out? Let's go to Jim.
Right now, I'd have to say the OUA. You take a look at the Canada West right now, and the average score is 42-34 in nearly 1,000 yards of offense every game. It just means the defenses aren't there to show up. I think there's a number of tough teams in the OUA at the top of the ladder. It'll be interesting to see in Quebec right now when Montreal and Laval duel, because I really think there's just two teams at the top of the ladder there right now. And the AUS, I think the reason the AUS is struggling right now is two reasons. One of them is the high tuition cost in Atlantic Canada, and the other reason is there just simply aren't enough high school football teams throughout Atlantic Canada right now to supply talent.
Yeah, Billy?
I think the closest conference right now is probably Canada West. I think it may not be the best conference, but because of Calgary coming down from last year, Manitoba's coming up, Alberta's coming up, it's kind of becoming a little bit more condensed, which is, I think, good for the conference. Everyone's close. You're not playing Calgary expecting to get blown out 63-0 every week. So I think that's going to promote better football in Canada West, and hopefully the defenses start showing up in the next couple weeks.
Lee, your thoughts? I mean, you obviously get quite a few voices in your ear with the website there as well.
For sure. I think as far as the top conference, you never know how to answer that one, quite frankly. But as far as the teams to definitely watch, I think Laval, Montreal, like Jim alluded to, I mean, I think those may be the top two of or three front sevens in the country. And, as far as the OUA goes, Western looks very good. The OUA, it seems like a lot of the offenses are in transition, so we'll see how that fosters itself throughout the season. But Queens, even McMaster, I think they'll have to get some more playing time. But as you said, Canada West from top to bottom, it seems like it's a shootout every week, and you never know who's going to win.
For Jim Mullen, Billy Green, thank you very much. Lee, via Skype from CanadaFootballChat.com. I'm Ryan Sullivan. Here is the CIS Top 10.
Some folks from far away voted the St. Mary's Huskies in at 10 after their win over Acadia. Number 9, McMaster on a 2-game skid after losing to the top of Ontario. 8, Manitoba. Time ran out on the Bison's perfect start against Saskatchewan. 7, Guelph, who stay in place after a bye week. 6, Saskatchewan. Mitch Stevens goes with the flow all the way to the end zone. In at 5, the Calgary Dinos. Buckley getting her done at quarterback. Number 4, Montreal, who knocked Bishops clean out of the top 10. 3, Western, who put points on the board and bodies on the turf at Mac. 2, Queens, by a hair over the ponies in the vote. They head off to the bye week. And number 1, Laval. They did enough on offense, but they played shut-out defense. Thanks for watching Krown Countdown U, as Countdown has Countdown. Krown Produce secures produce locally and from around the world for Canadian retailers. Krown Produce is also proud to secure sponsorship of university football on Shaw. Krown Produce, supporting Canadian retailers and Canadian amateur football. Whether it's your first home, a refinance, or an investment property, Kia Grant & Associates can find a mortgage solution for you. In association with Verico Paragon, the work she does for you is free. Find her on Facebook at Kia Grant Mortgages.